agenda. We have our first action item, which is AI in education is our discussion here. So welcome. Go ahead and give your name and title so we know exactly who you are, Matt.
Matt Winters, AI Education Specialist, Utah State Board of Education. Very excited to be here with you all today. We are looking at some updates to our AI framework that have been done over the last couple of months. There's nothing too drastic here, just 3 big changes. A couple of them in the language of the body, and then an additional of a glossary of terms for LEAs to be better prepared for what's happening with artificial intelligence. You all should have a copy of this in front of you. The first change is on page 7. It's bullet number 8 on that page, and it reads, "We understand that AI is a tool inside and outside the classroom. When students leave a school device, network, or account, they have access to AI tools. USBE is dedicated to helping provide support and understanding appropriate uses in this context and providing support to Utah agencies that support our learners when they access AI tools on a personal device." Number 2, and it's got a bit of a typo on it, and I apologize, we'll get it fixed here over the next day or so. Let me pull it up really quick here. It is on prohibited use under teachers, and this will be on page 12. At the very top, it's under the heading of diminishing students and teachers' agency and accountability. We just added the last sentence and note that the T is missing on teachers, so that was not an intentional thing. We just got this hot off the presses last night. Teachers and students need to understand how agentic AI or any AI system that offloads decision-making and or cognitive effort in the classroom operate and how to use them appropriately with a human in the loop. This is to help prepare LEAs for agentic AI, which is becoming more and more kind of part of systems that we're seeing in education, which is where, honestly, a lot of decision-making is wrestled away from the human user. And the last part is a glossary of terms on page 15 and 16. These glossary of terms we developed through the SKY Committee. I spent a few months working, honestly, with AI as a partner to kind of figure out what the best definitions here. And rather than read them all, there are 2 pages of full definitions here, anything from basic definitions for like chatbots to more deeply needed definitions around things like artificial general intelligence and retrieval augmented generation, or RAG databases. So those are the proposed changes to the framework that are ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Do you have questions? Yes, please.
Just on page 15, under the data privacy agreement, this is data privacy agreements are plus minus the primary method. Is that just a typo?
That's a typo, yeah.
Okay, I was like,
again, we got this hot off the press last
7,
night.
good, bad. I was like, I don't understand plus minus, so thank you.
Yeah, we'll get that eliminated on the next draft, and yeah. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry, I spent the week with a 5-year-old last week. I had to do it for you.
At the risk of editorializing, I am 6'7", so I hear it all the time. So it's just giving me a little bit of PTSD
there. Okay, are there any other questions, comments? Yeah, go ahead.
A little bit rework on one of those. Could I send that forward and
Yes.
present it just to discuss it?
Yeah, will you put the mic just a little closer so we can hear?
Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying you have a section that you reworked a little bit you want us to consider?
Yeah.
And who would she send that to?
Emily, can you send it to me?
Yeah. And then I do have a question around, while we're sending that, something I'm hearing more frequently about offloading learning or not offloading learning, however you use it, to a technology system or AI. And I don't know if there's a place in here we can put that, or
Yeah.
if it's maybe already there, right?
Yes, thank you, Board Member Earl. The section added, the very first one on page 7, section 8. Section 7. The second part, the prohibited use part, on page 12. That's designed to kind of help that out. The technical language that you're looking for from an AI standpoint is agentic, because really what that does is it does work for a student or for a teacher or any user really. And that's cognitive offloading right there. It's most pure form in AI. And so in that language, we want students and teachers, administrators, leaders, all to be prepared to keep a human in the loop in that process. And that's what that language was added there specifically
Okay.
around agentic AI for that, to cover that. But I'd be open to adding additional.
Yeah, let me read through it again, because I did listen to it. And that was the thing that coming into this, I'm like, we got to make sure let me just read it one more time while we're waiting for this one to come up, or Emily to talk to her recommendation. Use this come up. Educators, instructing, nurturing students, the core one.
Okay, so we're going from,
Yeah, I think it does capture that, so, yeah.
It may be a little bit more technical in nature due to
Yeah,
AI,
I think
but-
that's why I was like, do we have it? But I think you're right, so. Okay, so Emily, do you want to, is it up so we can speak to it? Not yet.
I've copied and pasted one of the motions document.
Okay, so what section are we looking at?
Okay, so
Board Member Green?
it's going to, let me just send one more thing real quick. Okay. So, I was just reading through, and just to clarify we'll start with what I sent you first, which is the second one, update to prohibited use. It reads, under teachers and diminishing student and teacher agency. Last line, teachers and students need to understand how agentic AI or any AI system that offloads decision-making and or cognitive effort in the classroom operate and how to use them appropriately with a human in the loop. And it's crazy to think that we're like, how do we describe ourselves? A human in the loop. So anyway, so that just kind of triggered, I'm like, okay, how could we maybe clarify this just a little bit more? So I'm presenting this, I'm not totally like married to it or anything, I just wanted to maybe put it forward and see if maybe it helped clarify a little bit better. So I'm putting forward that we update it or maybe consider the language of teachers and students must understand how agentic AI or any AI system that offloads decision-making and or cognitive effort operates and how it should be used appropriately within instructional settings.
So sorry, will you tell me where you wanted that placed again? Is that in the same spot we
Yeah,
just,
so-
okay.
Yeah, so what's in backup, it would replace that, but again, I haven't talked to you at all, so if I'm already stating something that's there, just let me know. And then go ahead.
Is it okay if I speak?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes, please.
I like the changes. I worry that they're a bit limited. That's my concern here, because when we think about the overarching effort of AI and what's happening with it, it's not just infusing into our instructional settings, but also our teacher preparation, our students' personal lives, and agentic is considered the next big part of artificial intelligence. And when that comes to actual fruition and people are starting to use that heavily, it goes much farther than instructional settings. So what I would say is, yes, and how it should be used appropriately within instructional settings and throughout, I think that the term we used is, well, I don't think we have a clear one, but I think it needs to be a little bit larger than just instructional settings.
Okay.
And it might even be just to say how it could be used appropriately in and out of school settings.
Okay.
Because that's part of the AI literacy, is understanding both the inside and outside the instructional environment.
Yes, yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So were you intending then to remove like if you remove human in the loop, would you remove the definition that's in the definition pages? Where it talks about the practice of involving human interaction or intervention to guide, correct, or validate AI-generated outcomes within a variety of contexts?
Would I be changing a definition?
Would you be taking out human in the loop?
No.
Okay. Because
that one-
we did take it out in this particular change, so I was just trying to clarify where it would stay and where it wouldn't, so.
I just have a clarifying question so I can get the right information up. So the part that you want to replace, Deputy Superintendent Leah Voorhees. The part that you want to replace is from the approve updates to USBE AI framework, that document, as opposed to so are you looking at the document that Chair Earl is holding to replace information? Are you looking at the one Matt created in backup, where he,
yeah,
so where
that's
he's
where I've
proposing the
worked from.
updates?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Deputy Voorhees, point of clarification, this is the update version
It's
as
the
well.
same.
Okay, so what's in
There,
backup is?
in backup, we just got this done last night through graphic design, so this has the updates in it.
Yes,
What
but what
page?
I copied and pasted is the document that you put in backup that says approve updates to the framework. So am I correct, Board Member Green, that you want to replace the second, the beginning of the document says update to USB's framework. The first bullet is update to guiding principles. The second bullet is update to prohibited use.
Can we discuss page numbers?
Yes, go ahead. So you're on the other document. Okay.
Give me a page number. Because, yes, again, I was working on this last night, just
The
from
corrected
what was
language that
in.
we're looking at, Deputy Voorhees, is on page 12.
Page 12.
Thank you.
Yes.
So on the diminishing student and teacher agency,
Mhm.
so we're replacing that whole paragraph, Board Member Green?
It's a little bit different now. Not necessarily. I just wanted to discuss. I think there was a second part of what I had sent over.
I got it. Okay,
Will you put that up there?
yep.
Because of anything, I'm just wondering if we've said this. I just wanted to discuss this. So throw that up.
Yeah, that's fine.
So if you go down to AI systems, Andrea, scroll down a little. This part right here, AI systems, and then the next paragraph.
And I guess this was my concept of, humans in the loop thing and this discussion that we are all having of we don't want to steal the development of young minds because it's easier to just use AI and it's a tool and hey, why not use it? And so I put forward, where is that? Okay, AI systems should not replace essential human decision-making, professional judgment, or student cognitive engagement. All instructional uses of AI must include a clearly defined human in the loop, ensuring that educators retain responsibility for instructional decisions and students remain active participants in their learning. And maybe this doesn't even go there. I think it does because that bullet is diminishing student and teacher agency and accountability. So I don't know.
So I just want
If
to,
it-
just one clarification, sorry,
Yeah.
and I think it's just me. So you're suggesting the language you just read, or at least wanting us to discuss it,
If
right?
anything, the most important is this last one.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to clarify that we encourage that human in the loops don't disappear. And that there is a very important, I would even say ethical responsibility that teachers maintain the instructional decisions of their classrooms and students are held to a level of accountability to remain active participants in their learning. Like it has to be
Yeah.
on the table, in my opinion.
So are you suggesting we add these pieces, Or are we rewriting something? That's where I'm trying to figure out if we're rewriting or we're suggesting just to add those
I
in.
rewrote it.
So you
it's
rewrote
the-
that diminish students and
yes.
teachers section. Okay,
So
okay, sorry. I was just making sure.
Give me just 1 second too, if we
Yeah,
can.
you're
Can we
good.
just read this for 1 second?
Yep.
So actually, the second paragraph is the same as with some, which I like that you used ethically and developmentally appropriate, is actually number 8 on page number 7, where it's, we understand that AI is a tool inside and outside of the classroom. So I think you've made some really great amendments to this paragraph that we should add in to that page 7.
Okay, 1 second, I'm gonna come back to.
You're okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the first one that I sent, was for,
Yeah, so they're both currently right here, so I've labeled them. So teachers and students must understand, so that's your first paragraph. AI system should not replace, that's your second paragraph. This is email 1. Just so you can see what I've got here. And then this starts.
And just for the public, we're just making sure we're on the right location for these recommendations and ideas. So just trying to keep you in the loop.
Okay. Yeah, that's what our question is. So if you look at this paragraph here that I have highlighted, what do you want replaced? The whole thing?
which kind of changes, unless I'm wrong.
No, you could very well be right. There's a lot of documents. You want us to start right here, AI as a tool? Yep.
Yeah, the only thing that changed in that paragraph was the last sentence. That's the only thing we've added from previous drafts.
I copied this. When I paste it, I'll put a paragraph there.
Okay, did we get it sorted out?
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna put from.
Typo, sorry.
Oh, that's the typo.
Yes.
All right, so this is a new paragraph.
Are you guys seeing how this is different now? Like this is different than.
Okay. Remember green, that
Not really, I mean, look,
should now look.
we understand.
Okay, so this is right here, page 7.
Oh, so, you said 12. So that one is 7.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's what got added. And so all I'm saying is that I think we take the last part of yours and
Yeah.
incorporate it in,
Okay.
is committed to supporting, is what you have there. Committed
Okay.
to supporting understanding. I like that you've got students, families, and that you are an ethical about that language. So if you would take yours and add that to number 8.
Okay. All right. So. Can you help me?
Okay, we're still sorting, so just so public knows, if you give it just 1 minute. We just want to make sure we've got the right recommendations in the right location. So,
The next part of it is under.
This one?
That's the only part, and all that was the very last sentence was there's nothing that was changing.
Of 12. Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so,
okay.
Is this what you want to strike?
oh, not,
Replace it? That's at the paragraph.
see, this is where I'm thrown, because we're talking about 12. but my motion starts on page 8, so should we reset the page?
Yeah, I would not have them strike anything yet. And let's
Yeah.
start at one paragraph and see where you wanted it.
All right, so what we need to do, I don't want you to strike that.
Okay.
Could we please start on page 8?
Okay.
Is that right? Or 7? Please start on page 7, number 8.
Okay, for the public following along, we are working off of Artificial Intelligence Framework for Utah, P through 12 education guidance on the use of AI in our schools. This is the document we're working on, and we're currently on page 7. So that those of you that are following along can follow with that. Okay. All right, Board Member Green, what do you?
Third one, something. I wonder if they can go down.
Page 7.
Yep. So now we're gonna see where we're going.
It's in the drive. Oh. Okay, which, number 6, number 7, or number 8?
It's going to be number 8.
Number 8, got it.
So we're on number 8.
All right. No, why did it do that? Okay.
Okay, and then,
Did you have a paragraph we wanted to look at here?
Yes, so you go back to her email.
Okay.
hey, Leanne, I'm so sorry. Will you come here real quick?
So where's your email?
It's right here.
Did you send that to us?
No.
Okay.
I just sent that to
Okay, I
Leanne.
was like, I'm sorry if I missed it.
But it's not the prohibited use statement anymore, is it? It's not. Okay. To update.
Now, that when they get out in the free world, they become free range. And we can
All right, we're ready for okay, I think we're ready for the first recommendation. So once again, we're on page 7, number 8, and if you want to
Okay.
read it out, we'll see what we can help you get it right.
Okay, I think I'm ready. And I apologize. This was between the three here. It kind of unraveled me a little bit. So after AI tools, the third line, USBE, and then if you can write the following, it's in the email I sent. USBE is committed to supporting educators, students, and families in understanding appropriate, and it's the one, I did send this over. So we're gonna,
USBE is committed.
It's the third paragraph that
And then we want to. And then I think.
Limited and after
Okay. So after educational context, correct? Put and then if you just want to copy and paste from what we just crossed out, the Utah agencies.
To the end of that sentence. So Utah agencies.
Yep, and then put that at the
Yeah,
end.
and then that goes at the very end then, right? Okay. And then unstrike that.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, so let me read through it, and then we can discuss if there's any modifications there or if there's any recommendations from staff. So let me just remind everyone where we're at. We're in guiding principles for AI use. We're on number 8, and it would say, we understand that AI is a tool inside and outside of the classroom. When students leave a school setting, network, or account, they may have access to AI tools. And then we would continue with, USBE is committed to supporting educators, students, and families in understanding appropriate, ethical, and developmentally appropriate uses of AI in educational contexts, and Utah agencies that support our learners when they, sorry, now I'm lost. Access AI tools. Sorry, it went up and then down, and then I'm like, I don't know where we're at. Okay. Okay, any discussion to that? Yes.
I know you talked about in the end part of this, you're talking about how we're doing some new grants that will support parents and understanding. Is any of this out of our realm that we couldn't do?
Not that I know of. What I will say is the language, I like the changes, by the way, Board Member Green. I think they're interesting. The section about Utah agencies that support learners is that when a student leaves a school device, network, or account, they become a consumer, but they can do things on those devices that affect the school environment. And that's not necessarily in the purview of USBE because they're a consumer at that point. And so there's Utah agencies like the Office of AI Policy, Department of Commerce, who are digging into those consumer rights and advocacy points of view that need our support to work that through. So if I were to make a suggestion on the language there, I'd just say, and re-include the word support Utah agencies that connect our learners or educate our learners, whatever it might be. But I think that's an important word of supporting and connecting.
Okay, let's do that. So let's add providing support to,
Utah agencies.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's, yep, and providing support to Utah agencies that support our learners when they access AI tools on a personal device.
And let me ask one question. We have families in understanding appropriate, ethical, and developmentally appropriate uses. We have appropriate twice there. Is it necessary, or is there a better word?
Understanding, ethical, and developmentally appropriate. You could take the first appropriate out.
Okay, so let's remove that first appropriate if that's okay.
This one here.
Okay, any other recommendations?
Thank you.
Oh, I just hate myself. Like Carol, Christina. I'm not the grandma.
Okay, I'm going to read this and we're going to make a vote on it. So, Board Member Joanne Brinton, are you following along with this okay? Okay, okay. You're doing a great job then. Okay, so we're reading 8 is on page 7 is what we're looking at. This would be changed to, we understand that AI is a tool inside and outside of the classroom. When students leave a school device, network, or account, they may have access to AI tools. Then we're striking, USB is dedicated to helping and providing support in understanding appropriate uses in this context. So we're striking that and adding, USBE is committed to supporting educators, students, and families in understanding ethical and developmentally appropriate uses of AI in educational contexts and providing support to Utah agencies that support, and we got support twice there, and providing support to Utah agencies that support our learners when they access AI tools on a personal device. Do we want? Yeah. Agencies that assist our learners or help our learners? Or do we need to change support of it, providing? What do you think? What would be the best? Matt, do you have a preference there?
I think if we were to reword providing support to Utah agencies into something like providing guidance to Utah agencies that support our learners,
Okay,
that might be an interesting phrasing.
let's try that. Providing guidance. Does that work for everyone? Okay. Okay, so the end of it would say, and providing guidance to Utah agencies that support our learners when they access AI tools on a personal device. Any other discussion to this? Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. All right, where's your next one at? Okay, we're on page 12 for those following along.
Across the board on this paragraph, just kind of a minor grammar thing, I would love if we could make a new paragraph one on AI.
Can she turn on her mic when she speaks, please?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
We've got to.
Just to start, I didn't know if we could just make a new paragraph where it says AI is a tool to augment human judgment. It's a simple thing.
Okay, so you're asking for a new paragraph there.
Yeah,
Right.
just a new paragraph.
Okay. Have you seen that? All right.
Oh, like a harder term? That can be a technical change. too.
It's just a technical change, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And did you have modifications to it too, wording modifications?
I think I'm reading over this. I think you've done a good job highlighting that it's the role of a teacher and that we need to keep learning at the forefront, not using it. So what I did put forward is, and I'll just read this and maybe just have
Okay.
a discussion if that's okay. You know, it's a little different than how we do it, but AI systems should not replace essential human decision-making, professional judgment, or student cognitive engagement. All instructional uses of AI must include a clearly defined human in the loop, ensuring that educators retain responsibility for instructional decisions and students remain active participants in their learning. And that right there, I had just kind of worked on that second paragraph now that we've made it a second paragraph. AI is a tool to augment human judgment, not replace it. Teachers and staff must review and critically reflect on all AI-generated content before use, thereby keeping humans in the loop. Teachers and students need to understand how agentic AI or AI system that offloads decision-making and or cognitive effort in the classroom operate and how to use them appropriate with a human in the loop. I understand the use of human in the loop. I feel it makes us sound a little bit like we're the robots and not the humans, but I know we are really trying to clarify kind of some lanes here. I don't know if there's a way that we
Go back
could
up.
alter just ensuring that educators retain responsibility for instructional decisions and students remain active participants in their learning. that's the line I'm most interested in trying to address, really.
Okay.
And maybe we just add, and maybe we can just add that at the end.
Can you go down just a little bit, Andrea? I wanted to see Emily's recommendations here. So teachers and students must understand. Okay, that first one is very similar to what's already in there, right? Okay. The second one,
Yeah.
AI systems should not replace essential human decision-making. Whoa, hold on. Back up just a little bit. One more, a little bit more. Can we go back up one? Oh, can you go back up a little bit more? Right there. Whoop, now down. No.
And I-
Current,
and I
the current of
think-
where we're at.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the two that Emily had there. So if you go down,
Down one, that's okay.
yes, that's where yes, right there. AI systems should not. Okay, so the first one is very similar to what's in there, to me. Is that the same with you?
Yeah, so in fact, I think I might be finding where we could put this.
Okay.
It's the first part of the paragraph, the last sentence, I believe. So the core practices of teaching, mentoring, assessing, and inspiring learners will remain the teacher's responsibility in the classroom.
Okay.
And then we encourage, or something that students remain active participants in, and that, or we could do responsibility in the classroom, and then I'll make this motion,
Okay.
that we add after responsibility in the classroom, we will add, and students remain active participants in their learning.
Okay.
There we go, all of that for that, but we got there.
Yeah, that piece is new. Okay. Do you want to add anything else to this section, or does that?
No, I think separating
Okay.
those out into two paragraphs, I think adding that as well, so that, again, it's just belabor the point, just teachers know their point is to teach a mind to think, not necessarily how to
Use a computer.
use it, yeah,
Yeah, or
just
AI
have a
or
computer
whatever,
think
okay.
for yourself, so.
Okay, so the motion before the committee, we're on page 12. I just want to let you know what section we're in. We're in prohibited use of AI tools, and we're on page 12 of that. We've separated it into two paragraphs, about midway through that paragraph. And on the end of that first paragraph, after responsibility in the classroom, we are adding, and students remain active participants in their learning. Any discussion to this? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Board Member Britton, did you vote on that? Okay, sorry. That was unanimous. And did you have any other recommendations? Okay, and I very much appreciate this. That's been the one thing that's been on my mind over the last couple of months, and it sounds like that's exactly where we're headed, is that offloading, right? That work still needs to be done by the students, by the teacher, that personal engagement, and that, being in tune with what's happening in the classroom and not giving it away to something else, technology. So I appreciate these changes. Any additional recommendations or discussion? If not, I am seeking a motion. Yeah.
Okay. I move that the committee approve the updated changes to the AI framework and forward to the board for approval. As amended.
Thank you. Okay, the motion before the committee is committee approve the updated changes to the AI framework and forward to the board for approval as amended. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, that passes unanimously, and thank you. Do you have any words of wisdom to share with us about legislative stuff going on before you head out of here?
Well, I believe I had an update as well.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Yeah,
That's-
that's the legislative stuff.
Well, then, let's update.
Okay, perfect. So is that okay to move on to that, to before you? Okay, perfect. Okay, so in board backup, you'll find the AI and education update for February 6, 2025. There's just two big items. The first one are the legislative items. currently tracking 4 on this document. I added a 5th that I can reference that was just added last night to my list that I'm tracking. So the first one is House Bill 273. This is Ariel DeFay, known as the Balance Act. There's a lot in that bill. I'm going to only speak to the AI components.
Okay.
There's 2 parts at the end of the bill. Part 2 of 3 is part 1 of the AI components. It is a requirement that USBE create model AI policies that then districts can either adopt or adapt.
What's the bill number again?
273.
HB.
HB, yep. Yep. They're linked in the board backup as well for you. We would create model policy. The districts can then either, or LEAs can either choose to follow that guidance, or they can create their own. It does outline specifics in there if you're interested in getting into that. Part 3 is the second part of the AI components in 273, which is allowance for LEAs to create an AI in essence, a workforce course, so that they could be able to go out and develop these courses with USBE's assistance to basically do a sandbox to create courses for students in AI. There's a lot of other things in this bill that are not AI associated, but those are the 2 large components that are inside that bill.
Do you see the framework that we've already created as kind of filling that request already? And you see that being a little bit more, maybe there's a few more provisions in here?
There are other provisions in
Okay.
there that would require a model policy.
So would that be an expansion of this, or a different type of thing?
It could be an expansion of this, and that would be part of our conversation
Okay.
with the board. It could be expansion, or it could be a completely new document that is, here's the framework that guides the conversation going into the future. Here's the model policy that is more firm on what you need to have in your districts and those sorts of things.
Okay.
The second bill is House Bill 276. This is educationally tangential, but it's really important. Again, this is Representative DeFay. It creates the Digital Voyeurism Prevention Act, and basically we have a term called deepfakes. It is creation of an image or video of a person without their consent. And in this case, it's intimate images or intimate video. This would create provisions on the companies that allow this technology to be created, which we're seeing more prevalence of that across the board, and I'm tracking that, to require what we call provenance data inside of the photo or the video. So that's the data that proves that that image or that video was created by AI, and when it was created and who created it. There are a lot of companies already, major companies in the ecosystem that are working on this. And Utah is leading out in that particular bill. There are other provisions in there as well around digital voyeurism, things like takedown notices, civil liabilities, and this is just a continuation of the work from last year, where the state legislature approved a set of a code around if an image is generated adult to student, or adult to minor, minor to minor, or adult or minor to a person with disabilities, there's criminal penalties around that. So Utah's really taking a stance on this around.
Is it only around intimate images, though? Or do you see it as being used broadly that, for example, if someone were to, like, and I'm just thinking, giving some kind of a political speech or something, right? People are running for office, and someone alters what was said or the reaction, right, using AI. Are you seeing, would that be incorporated? Is this primarily just focused on those intimate images?
This one in the bill very specifically says non-consensual generation, distribution of counterfeit intimate images.
Okay, so this is very specific.
Very focused on that. And it is, given the international conversation over the last couple of months around certain tools, it's needed.
Yeah. I'm not questioning that. I just wondered how expansive it was into other areas.
Yeah.
Okay.
The third one is House Bill 286. This is Doug Fiafia's bill, Representative Fiafia's bill. This is a kind of a large AI transparency bill, and it does have some implications for K-12 education. It specifically requires what we call enterprise model developers, so this would be OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, to create, implement, and publish public safety plans and child protection plans. That's the big swing for K-12 in the bill. On top of that, it would also require risk assessments, looking for material false or misleading statements and risks around those. And then it would also create civil penalties for violations and whistleblower protections. So this is a bill that really looks at corralling some of the things that are happening with these enterprise models and what they can do in terms of, again, safety and transparency.
Can you give us just a couple of examples of those safety risks? And I'm just trying to think of broadly what we're talking about, or the breadth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to talk to a few lawyers about this inside and outside of our agency. It's a big swing in terms of a bill, because what it, in essence, is trying to do in large scale is trying to provide some of the protections around AI software that we were maybe missing in prior software that we've had across the board, like social media. And so it's a
Okay.
preemptive measuring
I
around
see.
that. And especially the whistleblower provisions, that was largely absent from those conversations for a long time. And now we're trying to imply those in there so that if there is an issue with these software, these AI tools, there's an allowance for that to happen here in the state of Utah.
I see. We're getting ahead of it. We're protecting before we have a big problem. We see it coming possibly, and we just want to make sure there's provisions to help with that.
And this was also drafted with the Office of AI Policy, so they're
Okay.
along with Ariel DeFay's bill with
Okay.
around deepfakes.
Okay, thank you. And you got one more?
Yes, House Bill 320, which is just some amendments to the Office of AI Policy, extending their duties and giving them more additional duties around working with companies to make best decisions. They're doing some really interesting work over there, both inside and outside of educational spheres, and I often consult with them. I do want to add, there is also House Bill 438, again, Representative Fia, that is about AI companion chatbot safety. And I am just barely starting to review that bill. That's why it's not on the board backup.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how we stay on top of all this, but thank you. Thank you for all the work you do. Do we have any additional questions from committee members on any of these? Board Member Green, go ahead.
I do on number 2. Are we there yet, or did I jump ahead?
I haven't even started.
Oh, yeah.
the
Okay, cool.
conversation.
Okay.
I'll wait for that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead if we're done with the bills on the next piece.
Okay. This is an update to the professional development that we've been doing over the last year. We had some additional funds that were left over. I checked with the grantor. They approved a shift in how we're approaching this. It's currently in development, and so I'm working with internal teams to really make sure that we do this all the right way. But the proposed program will work with the Utah Teacher Fellows to provide holistic training and support at a school, from building leadership to teachers to some parent workshops at the school. I'm also working with our parent representatives here at the agency to work on that. We're trying to get all the ducks in a row, because we literally developed this over the last couple of weeks to make sure that we can roll this out in February, March throughout it. We're also going to be using funding from Donors Choose to provide material support for the schools that participate in this program, so that there is some skin in the game for them to complete this training.
Okay, Board Member Green, you had questions on that? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so when did that partnership form with the Utah Teacher Fellows? And why? What was that application just in order to accomplish the professional development program?
Part of it was to achieve that. It was over the last month. They have a contract with USBE, as far as I understand, to do some work for us, and they approached me about, hey, is there any projects that you're working on that we could have teacher fellows come and support? And this program came up in the conversation, where we're a geographically large state, and the teacher fellows are all over the state of Utah. This gives us the ability to meet the needs of some of our more rural districts, as well as reaching out and having boots on the ground support for some of these programming.
And then what's the relationship with IHC?
IHC is an existing grant that we've had for now, I believe, 2 years. It goes back before even I was hired.
It's a grant from
Yeah.
IHC?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're the grantor, we're the grantee, and that was what provided the support over the summer to do the training with roughly 7,000 teachers across the state. So this is just we had leftover funding from that grant. We're able to move forward with that project.
Okay. Sounds good.
Is this more localized? Is that versus everybody come up and meet us at a location? This is going more localized? Is that what I'm understanding, the difference?
Yeah, the hope is to go out to the schools and support them with boots on the ground. And so go out there and train their principals, who will help train their teachers, and then in turn train their parents, or just have discussions with their parents.
And maybe the difference is, and I'm just trying to, as I'm reading through this, I'm thinking the difference is those that would come into the trainings that have been done would maybe people interested in it, whereas those that, if we take it to the school, those that maybe aren't necessarily interested but think, I've got to be part of this, would be more likely to participate. Is that kind of the thinking? I'm just trying to.
Partially.
Okay.
Part of the reason, well, I do want to say that the team that we hired part-time over the summer, we went all over the state. We met them where they were at.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that's really important when
Yes.
you go out and do training. We did have some conferences and things like that where people came together for population centers. The goal of this, though, is actually to see if there could possibly be a moving of the needle around AI and other parts of the school, and doing some surveys as we go through the process, because that's part of the goals of the program as well.
Board Member Green, did you have additional questions?
Just a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm just learning, kind of becoming aware of this. When it says holistic standpoint, identify schools to train from a holistic standpoint. So you've got the grant from IHC, you work with teacher fellows for professional development. Is this just for AI, or is AI now kind of a part of like,
Just AI.
just AI?
Yeah, when I say holistic, we're meaning instead of trying to hit a few teachers here and there, or an administrator at a training, we want to embed with the school and make sure that certain amounts of the faculty get the training. So we can say this school got to a place where most of their faculty, if not all of them, were trained.
Okay. I know when I first started, this was like 3 years ago, we had a local issue where a history class realized that most students were using AI. Were you here for that?
That may have been before my time.
I think so. But it's just crazy to see how far like we've come. So what happened in order for them to get on top of it is all the students just had to do the handwrite, paper and pencil, which I think should just happen anyway. That's a different argument for another day. But what have you seen as far as feedback now that we're, years into this, trying to address academic rigor like that? Like, do teachers have concerns or struggles that seem to be across the board?
That's a big question, and I apologize. There's a
My
couple.
husband would call it an Emily question.
it's a great question. I would want to prepare fully for that question, but what I will say is that we're seeing from like an academic dishonesty standpoint, many of the surveys and studies that we've seen across the country are pointing to that cheating hasn't changed. It's stayed the same in the age of AI. Kids who cheat are going to cheat. Kids who don't aren't going to. Where the cognitive dissonance happens is when we see policies that say in a classroom level, no AI in my classroom. Well, that opens up a door right there. And we have to be very careful about what goes in and out of that door, because AI isn't just generative AI. AI is our spell check, it's language translation, it's predictive language, it's all sorts of things. And that can create problems in our students' process when they think those things through. And so I can do some more research on that question for you, Board Member Green, but I preliminarily, we're seeing interesting kind of results from national studies. The one I was referencing is Stanford. They did a massive study around this. But as we dig into working with individual classrooms and teachers, yes, they're seeing these plagiarism and academic dishonesty, cognitive offloading conversations happening, but we're also seeing really great decisions where they're doing things that heighten the cognitive rigor and the work. It's just anytime we apply ed tech tools, we have to make sure that we're thinking about meaningful use of that technology and when it helps the student. And I would say by and large, that's what we're seeing from our teachers in the state that I've interacted with.
Can I throw one more thing into the mix here?
Please.
So, and this is a personal interaction, like with my daughter. This was 3 years ago. She was filling out this form and had this sentence, and I said, well, we work on it and work on it. I said, well, just throw it in to see what it spits out. Well, it said to her through her software that this was AI generated, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So one of two things is she's must be that good. Or two, maybe her language is starting to take on the tone of AI. Or, we don't know. But it was just a moment where we just kind of looked at each other and thought, wow, here is this working relationship between AI, and all of a sudden AI gets to, now if she gets flagged for that, that's a problem. How do you disprove a computer now? You know, the ethics of it, ethics kind of come into that, so.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would actually propose that there's only so many ways to put a sentence in the English language, and when a large language model and an generative AI system is pulling from, in most cases, the vast majority of the internet, of course it's going to be flagged. In fact, there's been studies done on putting in the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. It comes back like 90 to 99% plagiarized through artificial intelligence. And so it's not so much a limit of like your daughter or the language she's using, it's actually just something that happens with the technology because we're drawing from all the written language that's available on the internet. So in that case, what we're seeing is, in most studies that I've looked at, it's between 60 and 70% accuracy, if that, around AI detection software. And the reason why we're seeing such low is basic AI literacy, both on the teacher, the parent, and the student sides, because if you understand what generative AI does when it's training, it's just absorbing what you're writing and putting into it. So your daughter may have actually put that into it, and then it just it absorbed into the large language model and went, yeah, it's AI generated because we just absorbed that in there and it was trained on your data. Now, we're seeing less and less of that over time, because and some of the hallucinations are going down and things like that, because the technology, the more people use it, the better it gets. But what we're not seeing is a drop in the amount of data that's being collected and being trained on. I can get into that with you if you'd like, but that's the underlying technology explaining itself in terms of why we see it come back with plagiarism detection software and things like that. It's how the technology works.
Awesome. You're a genius. Thank you.
Oh.
Appreciate your feedback.
Thank you, but no.
Okay, are there any other comments? Okay, I think we're at the end, so thank you, we appreciate it. All right, we are on to agenda item number 2. This is the supplemental aquatic standards, and I just wanted to briefly kind of highlight the difference between the different standards that we have. We have core standards, and under our core standards, we have our English language arts, mathematics, science, social studies, fine arts, physical education and health, early childhood education. And then under our supplemental standards, these are considered applied or advanced credit for graduation. Most of these are usually fall under that kind of elective piece. And an example would be under individual lifetime activities supplemental standards, we have participation, skills and techniques, fitness for life, individual lifetime activities. Some courses we've already developed are dance, recreation, strength and conditioning, yoga. And then the final level, it would be complete elective courses. In the core standards area, the board has not set standards for elective courses. Elective courses have been to the discretion of the schools. So I just wanted to differentiate that for the public. We've got those 3. We've got the core, supplemental, and then completely elective standards that an LEA may establish. The request before this body is that we do a supplemental standard for aquatics. Last year there was a bill related to this, and this year there's a bill too, but there's an interest in putting together an aquatics set of standards that would fit under the physical education piece for individual lifetime activities. Is there anything inaccurate I said? Okay, so someone could correct me okay. So that is the question before this body, and do we have anyone that has any information they want to give us? Megan, you do? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me.
Hi, Megan Everett, Director of Teaching and Learning. So what Member Earl or Chair Earl said is correct. We have the standards that you think of as, what do we expect a fourth grader to do over the course of a year, or what do we expect somebody to do in American civics and government course over a half a year or a year, depending on if it's a half credit or a full credit. In PE, what is required are 3 half credits. So a half credit for graduation is participation skills and techniques, a half credit is fitness for life, and a half credit is individual lifetime activities. And then under individual lifetime activities, because there's a lot that could fit there, that's where dance, recreation, strength and conditioning, yoga standards have come in before. In other subject areas, that looks like, we might require 3 years of science, but some of the courses that you could take to meet some of those graduation requirements, so if they're a full graduation requirement, would be where we've written supplemental standards to inform those classes. We don't have any elective courses that we write credits for or standards for to this point, so that would be a difference if you think it's a purely elective credit, because if you write it as a supplemental standard for individual lifetime activities, it'll count for graduation credit that's required.
Quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
But we do write CTE standards.
We
which are
do, but
kind of some of them are elective.
we write CT standards, but under
Okay,
our
got
core
it.
academic areas,
Got it,
we
got it,
don't
got
write
it.
it. Yeah.
And what you're saying is that if we choose to do the swimming, that it would fall under the lifetime, and it would count as that half credit under the lifetime provisions there.
That would be the
Okay.
place that it would make most sense. We don't have other supplemental standards in PE to this point, so
Okay,
that's where it would
that
fit
makes sense.
best.
Yeah, do you have a question?
Are there certain elements that are put into this dance, recreation, strength and conditioning yoga that have enabled it to qualify for this? Are there certain?
I think the big differentiation there is if it has enough what would be considered like core content and skill and disposition, the kinds of things that you would think would qualify for a half of a year credit. If you consider, I know you've been looking at the math standards closely, so what we expect over the course of a year, you can imagine what depth that would look like over the course of a half of a year. So we want to make sure that dance, recreation, strength and conditioning, and yoga all have enough to feel like, yeah, that's a viable half a year worth of credit. So we would want to do the same thing if they're directed to write aquatic standards, would want to make sure it's not, oh, you can go finish this in a one-day safety course or something. You would want to build enough skill into those standards that it
So it might
It's
have
meaningful.
a nutritional component, right? And it would maybe have, I'm just looking down what kind of stroke development, right? The different strokes, diving skills, water safety skills. Maybe it would have a piece of the lifeguarding could be built into it. Swimming and what was it, varying levels. There could be varying levels too, so. Yes, yes.
So all of these, dance, recreation, strength and conditioning, yoga, can be done regardless of where you are in the state. So that's one thing where, to make this a supplemental, it's actually pretty elective. Like, you have to be in a place where you can find a pool, learn the strokes. Is there any guidelines that you have where if it's going to qualify for graduation, like it has to be accessible to all of our students?
To my knowledge, we don't have that written anywhere, but that is generally the expectation, right? We assume that if we're teaching chemistry, that's accessible to anybody. If we're teaching creative writing, that is accessible to anybody. So that is true. It would be, I think possibly a differentiation point here is participation skills and techniques, for example, is one of our half credits, and that is required, and we have the standards for that. Individual lifetime activities could be dance, recreation, strength, conditioning, yoga, right? And there's choices within there, so it could be one of those choices and not be required for everybody.
So it's not a mandated, I mean, it is, the half credit's mandated, it has to fall under that category, but there's a variety or a range that students could access provided, like they may not do it, a school may not offer yoga because they don't have an instructor, or they may not offer the dance if they don't have the right facility or whatever, so,
I think that's right.
okay. Other questions broadly related to this? Okay. What does this body want to do? I think we ought to put a supplemental course together and then figure out provisions that go in that, or if our staff does Terry already have some recommendations for that? We submitted some when we made the request, but.
Not necessarily for that. They have started the PE revision process, and so I know they've recently met with their writing committee and started thinking about the core strands that would exist. Supplemental standards typically come a little later. They think about the core bulk first and then go to the supplemental. Terry did mention that currently in discussion with our writers, some of them don't feel like they were not selected for their depth of expertise around aquatics, and so they would want to potentially bring on some other writers to.
Well, we wouldn't be
speak to
asking,
those.
would we be asking our health standards writers to do this? I would think it would be a different group.
Our physical
Is that what you're
education
saying?
standards writers.
Oh, okay. I mean, sorry, physical education, you're right. I
Yeah.
said the wrong course.
I think you have options. So there is an option if you wanted to have them developed right along with the standards that are already in revision. We would rely on the writing committee that's already been assembled, because whether you write them separately or not, we need to assemble some people to write them. The standards committee that's already been assembled was not considered with aquatic standards specifically in mind, so we'd probably want to add some people with some particular expertise around that.
And I
But
was
that's an
thinking,
option.
but you can correct me if I'm wrong, I guess I wasn't really seeing that group doing this work. Because I would think you would want someone in the swimming area, whether some of our coaches, I don't know, do you know what I mean? As well as other individuals that, on our state level may have, qualifications for this. That's what I had envisioned.
We would absolutely have to add them. So
Yeah.
I think there's two ways to go. One is to incorporate it into the standards writing process we currently have. The other would be to follow the more kind of targeted process that has been identified. If this were to come through in that bill, and that bill were to pass, that would trigger that targeted standards revision that's a little shorter. And so you could assemble people specifically just for that outside of the writing process.
Yeah, but I let me just make sure I'm clear. But if we request a supplemental standards, that's a different process completely. It doesn't correlate with the core standards, and it doesn't correlate with the simplified.
So
Maybe I missed something.
yeah, so for us, this is part of our core standards process. The supplemental standards are still part of our core standards adoption.
Okay, let me ponder on that, chew on that. I think it's different. Yeah, go ahead, Leah.
So is our intent to jump on this because we had the Ballard bill last year, we have the Plums, is that this is our realm, standards are our realm?
Well, we can-
Is that why?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I noticed, I was trying to figure out on the memo, it said 3 had presented this. I just was kind of wondering from the internal perspective, why now? Why?
Well, actually, it was asked for last year. I didn't send it in.
Okay.
I had it all written up and then had forgotten to send it in. I thought it was going along with our health standards, like when I would ask, do we have people working on this? And that was my error.
Because it does seem to me, and I'd be interested to see the comparison between the supplemental standards process versus the triggered, because
Is it not, do we not have that in our documents?
it would be a quicker, I mean, we just barely passed that, where if it's legislative triggered,
No.
we can do things quicker
I think-
so.
I think we might be talking about three different things.
Yes,
So
I
we
think
have
so.
core standards adoption, right? So mathematics, right? And with PE is currently in that revision process. There are supplemental standards. It's been my understanding that the supplemental standards have been adopted right along as the core standards were being revised, so were they, because they're all under core. They're all, science has supplemental standards, but science is core, so that's done together. And then we have the targeted standards review that you're speaking of, which is the process we just adopted when we're directed to make a change. One of the differences is when we looked at that targeted standards, we thought it would be limited, similar to how the health standards were insert this one thing or insert it in a limited space, whereas this feels a little more broad.
I didn't understand it that way. When we've previously done, and we haven't done a couple for a few years, it could either be submitted in the spring, I think it was April or March, I can't remember, or in November for us to consider and to go through. And we have the timeline written out in here. But previously, it wasn't correlated with the core standards because, Emily, I don't know if you remember this, we did, and maybe Sarah too, we did mythology, we did yoga, we did, and I can't remember all, those were not, we were doing science standards, yes, as core, but the supplemental standards, we did astronomy, and we did, I don't know, a couple of other courses too. And those, from my understanding, and I'll pull up my thing, but that was a separate thing. That wasn't core where it had to put the whole group together and do the two, almost a year and a half. It was almost like a 3 to 6 month process. Am I not thinking of that right?
I don't know because I wasn't here when we did them the last time, but Terry did say that the supplemental standards for PE were off schedule and they are doing them now as a part of their total revision.
Okay.
Supplemental
I'm going to pull the
processes-
processes up because
Yeah.
I don't think that, I think in my mind, we could, technically, we could ask as a board for a supplemental standard to be developed without having to have the core along with it.
Can I
Yes.
add to my answer?
Yeah.
So I do have the supplemental core standards document pulled up. It looks like it was written in December 2019. It is very similar to the targeted standards review. So it is convene to develop, release them for 30 days of public review, revise the standards based on that, and submit to the board, which is almost word for word that targeted standards review that we added to
And we
policy
based it
last
off
year.
of that, if there was legislation that required, and the targeted, though, would be, like we're doing that with health, right? It's targeted to something that's already developed, and we're surgically going in and saying, this was added, this was added, right? So we didn't have to go through the whole process. My understanding is with the supplemental, that's not the case. We could, unless it were targeted, but we don't have supplemental standards already developed for aquatics.
Correct.
Is that,
If you look at the other document that was in backup, that was like some timeline options. So, you could create them under the lifetime activities credit. You could create a standalone course, which would be a departure from what we do in the core academic areas. It'd be more similar to what CTE does. Or you could create guidance around it without actually creating a full set of standards. But under the set of standards, if you wanted to do that, you could make them a part of the current standards process that's already happening, in which case we anticipate those will be ready for fall of 2027. Or you could do a more of a targeted standard, or using the supplemental standards process that we just talked about, in which case it still would take us through fall next year, we believe. It is a truncated process, but it would still, if you think about we're in February, so if we convened a group in March, they wrote for a month or two, because they can only meet so many times depending on their schedules, release them for a 30-day review, incorporate those comments, bring them back to you all and bring them back to the board. It would still take, we estimate, through this upcoming fall, in which case they wouldn't be ready for schools in the
right, but
fall.
they would be approved in November, and those that wanted to use them would be the next year, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So
okay.
if you use the process that we're already in for PE standards, we're thinking that's going to be ready for fall of 2027. And if you were to do a target review, the standards themselves might be done a little bit earlier, but it's still going to be fall of 2027 for use. So it's a little In this instance, just because PE has already started down their review path,
Okay.
you could kind of go either way.
Okay, I guess I'm not understanding what it means for the core, to do these with the core. We're asking them to write, and it sounds like we're asking them to write 5 or 6 set of standards because they're going to be doing yoga, dance, right? Am I right? How many courses fall under that?
Just those that are listed. So
Okay,
it's their participation in skills, fitness for life, and individual lifetime. Now, under individual lifetime, right now we have dance, recreation, strength and conditioning, and yoga. So if you were to add aquatics there, it would be that. And they have not revised them recently, and so they are revising all of those as a part of their core.
okay, you have a question?
Well, not really. It just seems like, because they're already doing it, that this would be the perfect time to add in aquatics, have them do it as a supplement under individual lifetime activities, because they're already understanding what are those core elements of individual lifetime that we want incorporated into this. They already have that knowledge, and then adds a few additional aquatic specialists to give that key elements that we want there.
Yeah.
Seems like we're already in that process that's worked before. Why would we change it?
Have we done this before? I don't know that we've done it before. We've only been doing supplemental standard, which I'm not in disagreement. I'm fine with that. I thought you were saying that we wouldn't finish these until 2027. No, they'd be usable in 2027.
I believe so.
That was the
goal.
difference there, is there.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've done this before. I think we're doing it because we're updating that. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, because we haven't really been doing supplemental standards for decades. We've only been doing them, from my understanding, for the last maybe 6-7 years. So, but I if we want to do that, I think that's fine. I was trying to understand the difference. So,
I think the way I see the difference is you know our full process, and you know kind of our more targeted process. The difference is we're relying on the writers in the process that we already have started putting in place, and we could add individuals that are experienced too. Or you might set up a totally different group to just do these. But in either case, I don't think you have them, I think the timeline ends up kind of the same for when they're ready for implementation.
and just one other question. This is related to the individuals that have committed to assist us with the writing. Do they have the capacity to do all these supplemental standards? Do you see what I'm saying? And I know the others are already written, so they don't have to write those.
Right.
So they're just going through and just kind of aligning them, maybe, and just seeing if there's any updates. But that would be adding, I'm just wondering if this is within the scope of what they expected to be doing, or if this adds a great deal more than individuals.
It does add, we estimated that adding some individuals that would have particular knowledge around this would add a little bit of money
Okay.
to, the commitments that we've already made, or add some new services agreements to the commitments we've already made, but it wouldn't be so extensive as to be wildly disruptive to the process. They're also not quite as far along as, mathematics. They've sat down and looked at their strands, but they're not so far down the line that this would be really out of line for where they
Okay.
are.
Committee, what do you want to do?
I think
It seems like Leanne's solution is the best solution. I'm not sure if that will be enough to make the senators stop, not
Well,
pass the bill. I'm
yeah,
not
they're gonna
sure.
do what they're gonna do,
But yeah, but
so.
it seems like that solution is the best route.
Okay.
Can we find aquatic specialists? Do we have those?
Oh, I think so. I don't think that's hard at all, actually.
Terry did share that we have some LEAs that have done aquatics as an elective, as is their right to do. And so my guess would be that would be one of our first stops, is to see if any of them are able to contribute.
And a lot of schools have coaches that might be
Swim
volunteer,
coaches.
but they also have people there, I think, that have
My only other
expertise.
idea was to have it integrated somehow into CTE and they get like a lifeguard certificate or whatever at the end of their class. That was my only, and that maybe would cover it.
That doesn't have to be CTE, though, to do that, right?
Yeah.
But
It just seems like from there, because we could,
Yeah, I know.
that was my only other suggestion.
Okay. Okay, so if- I'm hearing Leanne's recommendation from Sarah. Is that right?
Want a motion?
Yeah, let's do an official motion.
You wanna go to the motion stop?
Do you have something beautiful written?
Yeah, you have something simple written, which you can make beautiful.
I move that the committee direct staff to develop supplemental aquatic standards.
Do we need to indicate that, or just, maybe we just leave it at that? That'll just fall under that already? We don't have to add anything to it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in conjunction with the physical education standards. You know.
That's where we'll put it.
You do your job.
The committee, it's the board that would direct staff, so.
Yeah, we've got to make the request of the board.
Yeah, that the committee request, the board directs staff, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I move that the committee recommend to the board to direct staff to develop supplemental aquatic standards.
Okay, and is it possible that when those come next month to the board, for full board, that we could get just maybe a rough draft of what might be appropriate provisions? I mean, I suggested a few in my recommendation, I'm not talking a draft of it, but maybe like 5 points, where these would be things that we'd like to include in there. Do you know what I mean? So that it's broad, or do you want me to suggest that? I'd rather leave it up to a couple people our staff members to maybe look at that, or would you rather I just suggest it like nutrition
sure.
related to swimming,
I think
strokes,
we can,
right?
Yeah,
Or-
I think we can do that if you're just thinking
It just,
high level.
it's just high level, right? These are some
Yeah.
provisions that we think would be appropriate in this class, so that when people read this, they've got something to look at, to say, okay, what is this, what could this be? What does this look like? So, okay, right,
Right. There's some points in there for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, that would be great. Okay, so the motion before the committee is that the committee recommends that the board direct staff to develop supplemental aquatic standards. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passes unanimously. And thank you, Megan. Thanks for all the back and forth questions. I was trying to get us right down to where we were, so appreciate it. All right, I believe that's the last item on our agenda, unless I've missed anything. Okay, I'm looking for a motion. Final motion. Motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.